Welcome to the Reflection Show. My name is Ramses. You never go to the mirror scripted. You always go unscripted. I'm so excited to have an unscripted story sitting in the chair today. And she is a serial entrepreneur. She's the one. She's the only. Emily Armstrong! Doing?
Oh, I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to have you on the show, season 3. And, it's always a pleasure sitting down with good people, especially successful people at that. Emily, I was doing a little bit studying on you, and we hung out and we've done things together, but I never knew how in depth you were as a serial entrepreneur. But it all started off in California. Explain your journey from California to Nevada all the way to Orlando.
Okay, the whole story.
Whole story.
I grew up, I was born and raised in a very small town in California, Yucca Valley, California. My dad, we owned restaurants for the beginning of my childhood. And so fast food chain. My grandfather was the president of Del Taco Corporation, and my family owned a few Del Taco stores. So I spent my childhood growing up in the restaurant. So I would go there when my dad was working. When I was 12, I got my first real job, and I was the cleaner of the trays. So I would collect all the trays, clean them, and do certain things. But as the child of an owner, the labor laws allowed them to legally pay you at 12 years old.
What? So at 12 years old, through your family chain business, you were able to get a job.
Yes.
And start learning a lot of these great tools that you use today as a serial entrepreneur.
Yep, correct. So starting at 12, I started working while going to school. I would just go with my dad to work afterwards and spend a couple hours working. And then it just kind of escalated from there. So fast forward to high school, I was, in school. I also played on the volleyball team. Then I would go to work at Del Taco. And then I would babysit. So
all at the age
at like 15, 16.
So it's almost like you had to grow up fast, right?
Yes.
You have a lot of kids today, they struggle with the idea of growing up fast, right? I don't want to get a job, but they want success. I don't want to do chores, but they want money.
Yeah.
But you at a young age, from 12 to 15 all the way to 18, you worked your way towards your success.
Yeah, I was from a very, great family, very prominent family in town. Like, we were very well known, very wealthy for the area. And I had to work to buy my own school clothes. My parents were like, no way, we're not doing that for you. You have to do it yourself.
So even when your family had great success, they still made sure that you picked up the principles of work hard. Success doesn't come easy.
Exactly.
Like, what was it like even growing up to understand that there was a pressure on the mandate of your life of the success that your family had?
I didn't know any different. Like, that's what I had to do. So there wasn't, I had to go to work. There wasn't any other option. So I just did.
Wow. So how did you find you at a young age? As far as, because you went to school and you got your bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
Like, how did you end up finding you in the process of dealing with all this great success of legacies in your family?
So I still think I'm working on finding me. It's crazy when you look back. I am so different today than I was back then, and I've had the same personality.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think it's the hardships of life that mold you into the person that you are. And again, like, I've always had a work ethic. So that's always been at the core of me. So that's, I would say, a huge part of me and who I am. But I think the experiences that you go through, the relationships, the ups and downs and everything is what really molds you into who you become. And I look at, who I was 10 years ago when I decided to even move to Orlando. And I'm such a different person today. And I've grown so much in those 10 years than probably the 10 years prior to. And it's interesting to see the growth and the change, and I would say confidence. I've spent my entire life, my entire career supporting somebody else or building off of somebody else's vision and never having my own. And it's been a wild ride to watch myself transition to making the decision to create my own vision and go after things that I want instead of implementing the things that others want.
And I know when I think of you saying the word others, this also include the journey of you embracing your grandfather, your father legacy, and now finding yourself and creating your own, because even when you moved out of California and you went to Nevada, Las Vegas, I mean, there was a drastic period in that time frame where you had to really buckle down and decide what direction you wanted to go. And you started off as a front desk assistant with the Brooks team. So tell me about that experience. Like, I know you learned a lot. You had your family mentorship program, which I would call, and then now you had Team Brooks mentorship program. Like, what was that process like for you?
That one was a wild one. So I was in college. I moved to college in Las Vegas.
Wait, college in Vegas?
Oh yeah. And
the Strip?
You can see the Strip from the dorm rooms. Like, that's how close it is.
Wow.
You know, but you're 18, so it's like, oh look, there's Vegas, but I can't do anything. I was in when I went to college, my parents gave me an allowance, and it was a great time in real estate. So my dad was killing it, and they said they wanted to make sure I fully focused on college and I didn't have any other pressures. So I went to college. I think it starts like August, September. I made it until October, and I was like, I am so bored. Like, I can't not have a job. So I actually got a job at Aveda, which is the hair care, skin care company.
The one that you see at the mall.
Yes, yeah. And I worked in a mall. I worked at one of the malls on the Strip.
Wow.
And I worked my way up there to management, and was managing a store at 19 years old. But at the same time, again, because I'm kind of a little crazy, I also got a job in real estate. So again, back to it. I'm working 2 jobs and I'm going to school.
Wait, so you left home. Away, you were hoping that you would try something different. And you find yourself going right back into the same industry that you came out of in California.
I was working at my dad's real estate company in California, and real estate was all I knew. After the restaurants, you know, he had opened the real estate company, and I did paperwork there. And it's a wild world, because it's I know I don't look it, but I've been in real estate almost 20 years. So I actually, back then, and those was before I was licensed, right? So that was before I was licensed, so 25 years. And back then, we didn't have like keys to open the lockbox. The agent had to drive to your office and get the key, and we had a book that had keys in it with the MLS sheet, and it was just not digital. We didn't even have...
This is way before technology was advanced.
No GPS, iPhones weren't around. We didn't even have cell phones.
What?
So, you know, flash forward, I'm in Vegas, and it's like the only thing I've ever known is real estate. I'm good at sales, so I worked at the hair care company, but that wasn't gonna be a forever job. And I got involved at the real estate club at the university, then became president of it. And that was for commercial real estate. I went to an event, I met these 2 couples, and I ended up getting hired by them and working for them for the next 10 years. And it was such an amazing experience, because I wouldn't be the professional and entrepreneur that I am today without that, because most people get into real estate and they just hit the ground running and try to sell you a house, right? They don't do the education, they don't have the experience. It's not like an attorney where you go do mentorship and all the different steps to get to that level. I mean, you take a test and you can sell somebody a house. But out there, I literally worked my way through every single job in the industry. So I was a receptionist. We used to joke that it was like my job to make coffee and copies, and I really sucked at making coffee.
But you know, but here's the beautiful thing though. It's when people today may question your success, or may question their position, or where you as a mentor place them as a mentee, they may think that you don't like them, or you may hate, or they may feel like you're a competition. In reality, you already have a roadmap to building their success, because you did 10 years with a for-profit organization, and then you did, of course, all your youth life with your family that was also successful. So you have a roadmap to finding yourself when it comes to business and success and stuff like that. What do you feel like was one of the adversities you dealt with within the 10 years being with the Brooks team?
You know, we went through a lot of markets during that. I mean, that was the recession. So one, I will say this, I don't ever felt like being a female in the industry was an I never had that in that one. I I feel like the adversity that we faced was just having to learn to navigate through different scenarios. I mean, when I started with them, there was 5 other assistants.
Jeez.
And within a couple of years, because of the shift in the market, there was one, and it was me. And the only reason that really made sense for them, because I wasn't the most experienced, but I was the cheapest and the hardest worker.
Wow.
And I could be trained.
Wait,
and
say that
taught.
again. You were the cheapest
And the hardest worker.
and the hardest worker. So why didn't you give up?
That's not an option.
She
No.
said that is not an option.
Absolutely not. But you have to figure too, I'm in my 20s, and I'm making 6 figures. So life's great.
And this is back in
2005, 2006, I've made 6 figures in my career since I was 23.
Have you ever lacked?
No.
You've always worked hard.
Yeah. And it's always been, it's just, there's never an option. Like, there's never a, you know what, like, I'm okay settling for less, or I'm okay taking it easy. Oh, I take that back. I did take it easy one year because I could.
Because you could. Well, I mean, with great success, anybody knows.
Yeah.
With great success, you have an opportunity to really level out your schedule, manage your schedule, and leverage your schedule with the things that you want to do. Because sometimes you just need a break.
Yeah, I did. So I've had that multiple times. I think I've had like 3 midlife crises, but and it's so hard too because everybody has to work, right?
Right.
And one of the things I deal with now is I manage. I have 13 people that I manage on a daily basis, and the biggest struggle that I have with that is again, I've been there.
Right.
I've been in every aspect of life. The only one that I can't say that I have is kids. I've not been a parent.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the amount of times that people will use their kids or use something as a reason to not work, I appreciate it. I get, kids get sick. I get, that you're not feeling well that day. I get you don't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
But in our industry, you're not paid by the hour. You don't clock in every day. So if you choose not to come to work that day, you choose not to support your family and yourself.
So my question is, for someone who's in the industry of real estate, whether they're an investor or whether they're a realtor, like, how does someone stay hungry? Even when they're tired, how do they remain hungry? Because to be hungry is different than to be someone who's starving.
Yeah.
Right? Hungry, I believe, for me, is someone who understands that, hey man, this is all that I have.
Yeah.
Someone who's starving, I look at as someone who don't really see the value to want to eat.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So how do you stay hungry in your industry?
Well, me or everybody else?
Well, let me just say this. Well, how do you remain hungry, or how do you stay hungry? I mean, because for the last 20 years, you've consistently hit 6 figures.
Right.
How did you stay hungry?
I think it comes from within. There are, you can only motivate yourself and drive yourself to the point that you want.
Say that again.
So you can only motivate yourself and drive yourself to the point that you want in life. And I think so many people don't give themselves enough credit to want more. They want to survive. They don't want to live.
I gotta take a break on that one. They want to survive. They do not want to live.
Yeah.
So you're moving from Nevada, Las Vegas, very successful there at a young age.
Yeah.
And you decide to migrate to Orlando, Florida, where you started AFG.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, you went through Keller Williams and the process through that, and now you have your own team, 13 realtors on board and stuff like that. So what are some key tips that you've learned to help you be better as a serial entrepreneur with the team that you have?
Oh, well, I think so many people are scared and they don't do the work. So the number one thing, and I tell everybody, do the work. Do the activities. Activities lead to results. So you can't focus on the results, but if you focus on the activities to get there, the results come.
Focus on activities.
And the results come.
And the results come.
Yeah.
And what type of pressures do you deal with on a day-to-day basis? You as Emily Armstrong growing as a serial entrepreneur?
Well, I'm crazy. So I, like everything I look at is how do I make money off of this? So even the things that I do for fun, it's like, how is this going to benefit my life, or how, and not that it's all about the money, but how is this going to enhance things for me? If I go to do this, is it going to make my life better?
Basically, there has to be a sole purpose to why you're connecting to the plan or whatever is in front of you.
Yeah, so in the last, 2 years, I've started 4 businesses. And within that, there's always a vision for each of them to link and connect each other. So there's a way that says, you know what, real estate's changing. We're not the good old boys of back in the day where you shake hands and you use your circle around you, because the internet exists, technology exists. No longer do I have to sit in one community and only sell those houses, because I can literally sell any house in a vicinity as long as I have access to it. And so that changes the way that you interact, and it changes the way that you do business. So when people used to do really well at mailing, because you're mailing the same people and you're door knocking the same people and you're having the same conversations, how do you do that on a scale of coast to coast?
Wow.
So I looked at it and said, okay, well, how can I get in front of people from a different aspect? Like, I don't have to talk to them about real estate. I can talk to them about fun things we do in life.
Right.
So I created these different businesses, and it's been a really cool opportunity, because not everybody wants to talk about real estate.
Right.
Not everybody's ready to buy real estate or sell real estate.
I mean, let's be honest, right? I mean, nowadays, everybody's a realtor. Right?
So many.
Yeah, there's a lot of realtors out there, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of salespeople that say, oh, I just want to make money.
Yeah.
And, like Emily said, real estate is not about making money, right? What do you believe real estate is about?
It's about changing the lives of others. It's the single most largest purchase that a person makes in their lifetime.
Yeah.
And real estate as a whole has changed. I mean, you look at our parents and our grandparents, owning a home was the dream. You buy one house, you live in that house till you die, and then maybe your kids inherit it. Every once in a while, you might upgrade or downgrade. But in general, owning a home was the American dream. Now, flash forward to today, I mean, I've bought and sold 10 houses that I've lived in.
Wow.
Like the mindset of it, now it's building wealth through real estate, which that's been there all along.
Right.
Warren Buffett built his whole portfolio off of real estate.
That's real.
He lives in that same house he bought, but he owns all the other, right? And so now, as technology helps, we're educating the younger population and saying, hey, it's not just about moving into a house for the rest of your life.
Right.
It's about building that portfolio of wealth through real estate.
Monopoly.
Yep, exactly, just like Monopoly.
You have to know how to move that money, right?
Yep.
Money is not meant to stay. It's meant to move. I always tell people, I said, you got to think of the river of currency, right? Even though the top of the water may look still, but at the bottom there's a current that's moving, and that's how you move your money, you know? So let me ask you a question. In your inheritance, there's a word called success. Do you feel like your grandfather, if they were to look back at you today, do you feel like they would be very proud of where you are today?
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think they would tell you right now to encourage you?
Just to keep going and see how they can support me in whatever way. I would say I'm one of the most successful people in my lineage. And so, my dad and I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's wild to think that, in families, you have families the kids are brought up the same way, but they go totally different paths.
That's true.
And our family is no different. Every part of our family, that happens. Like, you have some people go one way, some people go the other. I was my grandfather's first girl.
Wow.
So a granddad was my first
So
bird.
Emily, you are living up to it.
Yes, yeah.
First granddaughter, and I know your dad is proud of you, your grandfather is proud of you. What do you think, as far as what are you thankful for when it comes to your father? Like, if he was sitting right here right now, like, what would you tell your dad?
I'm thankful to both my parents for creating the hurricane that is me. I was given a life without limiting beliefs. So I don't have that I can't do that mentality. I can do that, and this is how. I maybe can't do that right now,
But it's
but
gonna
it will
happen.
happen, and I will find a way to do so. Like, I am resourceful, I am scrappy, like, you name it, I'm gonna find a way.
You gonna find a way.
And so, and my parents just taught me, you know, they created this person that I am.
Right.
And I joke with them all the time. I'm like, you know, the only problem of it is you've created such a strong-willed, like, hardcore individual that
Right.
it's a little intense for dating.
Right.
But, like, other than that, somebody will figure it out and
Right.
be able to handle it. But, you know, like, they've created a force to be reckoned with.
And what about your
And-
mother? Like, what do you feel like she's instilled in you as just a woman to be successful in the industry, to be successful in business, to be successful just as a woman standing her ground?
Yeah, just supportive. I mean, again, both of my parents have just supported every decision that I've ever made. And, you know, now, because my mom lives here and she's retired and, like, she's been so supportive. I literally call her the bank of mom. Like, I'm like, Mom, I'm going to do this investment and I'm using your money, you know?
Wow.
So, and she's so trusting in me that, you
Right.
know, and it's worked out. But,
Wow.
you know, we've broken into, I went from selling houses, I've flipped properties, I've developed homes, I've, you know, bought and sold land, like,
Yeah.
you name it, like, get into it.
Everything.
And I just call her and I'm like, hey, like, I'm gonna make us both some money, so don't ask questions, I'll just let you know when your check arrives, you know? And but it's so cool that she's
Yeah.
so trusting to be like,
Yeah.
all right, like, whatever you say.
You know,
So,
it's a lot of people don't know, and I had to come to understand this, that a support system is huge.
Yes.
Because you can only win with those who are around you.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so important.
Yeah.
Because if you have people who are not motivated about life, you have people who are not inspired about life, guess what? Your life is going to be uninspired. It's going to be unmotivated,
Yeah.
and you're not going to be excited about anything. So you're blessed to have a support system that always desire for you to win. Since you were a child,
Yeah.
they were like, nope, she's not just going to get the money. She's going to work
Right.
and make her own money, and then we'll come in as a partner to help fund her vision on other things that she wants to do, because they saw you graduate from little Emily to Emily Armstrong.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always like to ask tough questions, right? And when I mean tough, I'm not talking about any political drama or gossip, but I have a question for you. When you felt like you couldn't move forward with life and tears were running down your eyes, how did you find yourself to get back up and do it right?
There's been multiple of those moments in my life. I've even just gone through it, right?
Yeah.
So, what you said earlier, the people in your life are so crucial, and you're the 5 people you surround yourself with, and that circle changes.
Yeah.
I have had plenty of days where I am bawling my eyes out in bed and, like, cannot get out of it and get the motivation to slap a smile on my face and work through it.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's external motivation. It's if it was just me, if I didn't have to hold myself accountable to anybody else, you'd probably find me crying in my bed for like a week, maybe 2, you
Wow.
know? But because I know that I have people that rely on me and that I have to support, it doesn't matter. Like, I was joking with my best friend, because we've been best friends since we were 12. So 25 years we've been
25
been
years.
friends, and so he was just, you know, he flew home to support me, you know, during some things lately, and I was talking to him about, you know, I don't know, I think it was 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I was engaged, my wedding was planned, and I was supposed to be getting married, and it abruptly ended. And
Wow.
I remember him coming into my room, and I was just crying in bed because my whole life just changed. You know,
Wow.
we had all these steps forward, everything was locked in, our plans were made, and then it just ended.
Could you imagine that? All your life,
Yeah.
from transitioning out of your family business, going into doing your own thing, that wasn't difficult.
No.
Transitioning from Nevada to Orlando, that wasn't as difficult. But man, to be engaged and for it to stop abruptly, that was difficult.
Yeah. And he came into my room that day. We were just talking about this. And he came into my room and he was like, nah, you get one day. You get
Yeah.
one day to be upset like this. and I'm going to support you through it, but we're not doing it in the bed. So it made me get dressed and get out of bed. And luckily, we lived in Las Vegas.
Right.
So takes me to the casino, and we spend all day at the casino and gamble. And I'm still crying at the casino, you know, but at least I'm like having some drinks and making some money, right? And so we gamble all day at the casino and then end up in the bingo room.
Bingo, B-I-N-G-O.
Yeah, that's it. And I win $250 playing bingo. And I'm like, you know what? Today wasn't that bad, right? And it
because
was
you want $250. So we know what makes you happy.
Tears away afterwards. But you know, like you get through the tears and you reflect and you realize like some things are so painful and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But then you realize as the days progress that everything happens for a reason. Yeah. And so pushing through that allows you to realize that maybe somebody exits your life or things go wrong because they have to go wrong to go right. And I've learned that multiple times, and I've gone through that multiple times, but you know, you just have to pick yourself up and get through it and maybe go play bingo. Play
some bingo. And lastly, I know God has become a very intricate piece into your life now. Of course, yeah. What is that conversation like with God and your relationship with God now?
So that one's, so I've always been huge and involved in church, and just here in Orlando, it's been difficult for me to find that. I just lean on him for everything. You know, I read a daily verse that I have a devotional that I read, and it blows my mind because it's not written for me, right? It's written for every day of the year. Right. But yeah, as I've been reading it, it was what I needed in that day. And when I've been, you know, again, I've been going through some hard stuff, and my prayer is God only gives you what you can handle. And I know he doesn't give you anything more than you can handle. So while it's painful and while it's hard, I know that it's meant for me and that I will get through it because I'm relying on God. I'm not alone in this. Like I have somebody to lean on to process through and to get through it. And that's been saving, you know, like it's been such a happy yet sad moment because I do have that support, and everything, God shows you what you're supposed to see. And I've just been shown so much, and it's just been such an incredible journey.
I love that for you, Emily, because, you know, once again, it's always a pleasure to, you know, always be around you and have conversation with you. And I was like, man, I got to get her story because you don't know someone until you stop and say, hey, how are you doing? What's been going on in your life? Where are you from, right? That's important. And to see how you've evolved as a woman is incredible as a serial entrepreneur. And I know finding you wasn't easy, even though you're still in the process of finding the best of yourself. But Emily, before we end the show, you know, I like to always say there is someone on the other side of that mirror. There's another Emily that is in pursuit of finding themselves through the process of trying to become a serial entrepreneur or maybe be a successful woman in business. What would you like to tell that younger Emily looking in that mirror right there?
Yeah, of course. The biggest thing I could say is don't give up. Follow your dreams. I mean, it seems cliche, but the only person that can accomplish what you want to accomplish is you. And if you give up on yourself, then who's going to believe in you? And so you have to constantly self-motivate and dig deep and really challenge yourself to get through the hard times. But at the end of the day, when you get through those, there's just so much opportunity in life out there. And like I said before, life is meant to live it. So how you choose to live it, that's up to you. But you have to decide your own roadmap and your own destiny.
You have to decide your roadmap and your own destiny. It's important that you take time out to find who you are. God has called you to be the best person that you can be. And hearing Emily's story, I hope it encouraged you, it inspired you, and it impacted your life. Because this is what it's all about in the Reflection Show. Looking on the other side of the mirror and asking yourself that question and saying, who am I? What can I do? And how can I bring value into this world? What is the purpose of my life? Because your story has an experience that's someone else that's going to help set someone else free. And this is Ramses Rizard on The Reflection Show. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, your experience matters. Like a fire. Come, let's have a seat.